remember how to do this. It's been so long since I've done a vlog. Okay, so today we are doing something a little bit different. We are about, 1.5 months into being in our site. So Danielle and I, who you know from before, it's her again. We're neighbors again, which is amazing. So we're in Boca del Toro, and we're in different sites, but she's here with me today. And we're going to be talking about the top 10 tips for the application and the interview for Peace Corps. So this is for anyone who's like applying to the Peace Corps or who is interested in applying to the Peace Corps. Just some helpful tips that we thought of that we can talk about to help you through your process.
So the first thing you have to decide when applying for Peace Corps is, do you want to apply to go anywhere, or do you want to apply to a specific position in a specific country? So if you do apply to go anywhere, you have to really be okay with being sent anywhere. And they let you put like your preferences in, but at the end of the day, they're choosing for you where you're going to go.
So even if you feel like you have the qualifications to be sent to a specific country or a specific region or for a sector, it's possible that will happen, but it's also possible that you could be sent somewhere completely random. So really think about whether that's something that you would be okay with, that you would want to do. The benefit of that is that it's less competitive, so if you are worried about not getting in, then that's a good option, because if you're not accepted for a specific position, they'll put you under consideration for something else. But the other option, so a couple of years ago, the Peace Corps application changed completely, and before this, the application itself took like a year or something, which was super long, and then they changed it to make it way shorter, and then they allowed this option that you could apply to a specific job in a specific country with a specific sector. So that is something that's new and something that is good to consider if you have like qualifications or a language that you speak or a preference for a country that you're interested in. Then you can go online to peacecorps.gov, which I'll link below, and you can apply to that specific job, which is a really good option. That's what I did.
That's what I did too. And so my background, I was a teacher for 2 years, and I had a master's degree in teaching, so I knew I wanted to do an education position, but I wasn't sure. I honestly didn't want something where I was just in the classroom every day, and it was kind of just like teaching in a different country. So when I found our position in Panama, I liked it a lot because it had like in-classroom teaching and also community work. So that was part of the reason why I chose this specific program.
Yeah, and I chose Panama for a lot of those reasons too, but also because I speak Spanish, and the Spanish-speaking countries usually have a higher requirement, so you have to have a little bit of a background with Spanish, whereas some other countries you don't really have to have a background in that language. But for me, just with my comfort level of moving to a new country for 2 years and being able to do my work, I just felt more comfortable being able to speak the language of the country that I was applying for. So now moving on to number 2, apply even if you don't feel 100% qualified. So this goes for applying in general or applying to a specific position. I actually really hesitated to apply for the Teaching English, Leadership, and Life Skills position originally because I knew that Panama was a pretty competitive country, and I also didn't have the same teaching experience that I thought other applicants would have. And I don't even have like a TEFL certification or a background in teaching English, so I thought that I wouldn't really get accepted. But then I sent in my application anyway, and I got an interview within 2 weeks and was accepted really quickly. So you never know if you're going to be accepted for that position or not. So just apply. I mean, there's no harm in applying.
Yeah.
And the other thing about that too is that remember that you'll have 10 weeks of in-service or in-country training. So even if you get accepted for a position or a sector that you're not super comfortable with or don't really know what that would look like, you'll have 10 weeks to prepare for it before you even start your service. So, and a lot of Peace Corps is just learning on the job anyway. Sure. Yeah. You're never going to be prepared. So
yeah, I think one of the big things that we all said at the beginning of PST, pre-service training, was like, I don't know what I'm doing here.
Right. Like, nobody knows what's going on.
I don't know that I don't feel qualified for this, but the training, they do a really good job, and it's long and tiring, but
yeah,
you are ready
By
to
the
go.
time you leave, you feel like you can do the things that they ask you to do in your site. So
Just try.
just try.
Number 3, apply early. So Peace Corps does all of their decisions on a rolling basis. So they have, it's very like, I don't know, it's very set in stone when they announce positions and then when like the hereby date is. I don't know those off the top of my head, but it's like 3 or 4 times a year they announce and then there's a deadline. So suffice it to say, you should apply early. So if you see a position that you like and you're interested, just try to, as soon as your application is ready to go, put it in.
Yeah, and usually you'll find out, well, I don't know about usually, but you might find out earlier than you think you will. So, for example, if the application deadline is July 1st and you apply in like the end of May or something, you might expect to only hear back by the deadline, so by July, like mid-July. And it's possible that that will be the case for you. But it's also possible that if they put you under consideration for that position after you apply, you could have an interview within a week or a couple of weeks, which is what happened to me. And that's not universal, but it's possible. So it's just worth it to apply early. If you know that you're ready for it, just get it in. Number 4 is find your why. So this one's really important because the reason that you apply to Peace Corps is going to be the thing that keeps you here through all of the great times, all of the not so great times, all of the long, lengthy process of medical, legal clearance, even before you get here. Because it's a really grueling process and it can be frustrating and it can be easy to give up on it because there's just so many requirements and stipulations.
And it can be expensive, the medical stuff.
Yeah, it's true, if you don't get everything covered.
Yeah.
So basically, it's an investment to apply to Peace Corps, and if you are going to go to Peace Corps, if you're seriously considering it, it's also a huge investment of time because 27 months it's a long time.
It's a long time.
And whatever your why could be, so that could be service, cultural reasons, just being interested in traveling, wanting to go abroad, not knowing where you're going in your career, so you want to take 2 years to sort of get some more experience, if you want to work in the government, whatever it is, just make sure that it's like a really good, solid, strong reason that will pull you through all of the great times and all of the not so great times. Because like we've only been here for 4 months, and I mean, I'm very happy to be here, and I definitely know that it was the right choice, but it doesn't mean that every day is super easy.
It does not.
No.
That doesn't mean there's not a lot of really fun times.
No, there are some great
But
times.
there's like ups and downs, of course.
There's ups and downs, yeah. And I mean, just like moving to a new country, no matter what you're doing there, is not easy for anyone, and it always takes growing pains, so just make sure that you know why you're there. And also, I mean, in terms of the application and the interview, they're going to ask you why like a billion times, so it's good to have like a elevator speech for that anyway, just for the application too. 5 through 10 are more about the actual application and the interview, and just things that we thought were helpful to know about. So number 5 is be professional. This seems like obvious, but sometimes it's not obvious because Peace Corps is a different animal, you know, it's not like a typical job. But the job interview part of it is like a typical job interview. So
Peace Corps is very serious about like professionalism, and I think one of the kind of challenging things with that is that professionalism is very culturally defined. So if you're really not sure like what that might mean, talk to a recruiter, talk to like an RPCV or a teacher or someone who can help you, because I know like in my culture it might fit closer to what the world deems like professional, but that doesn't mean that everyone has that experience. So I think, you know, there are some things that we all know: proofread your essay, dress to impress. That might be another one.
yeah, just to impress.
But yeah, Peace Corps is big on professionalism.
Yeah, and be responsive too. I think with the emails that you receive from Peace Corps, whether it's Peace Corps, well, so if you get an invitation to serve, then it could be Peace Corps Medical or Peace Corps Legal that are requesting tasks of you. But even with the interview process, sign up for an interview slot as early as possible. If they ask you a question, be responsive, because that gives them a signal that you're actually interested and that you're serious about it too. Number 6 is kind of embarrassing for me because I made a huge mistake. So this was the first time I applied for Peace Corps. No, second. I have applied to Peace Corps 3 times. Long story, I'm not going to share that with you. But the second time I applied to Peace Corps, I got an interview and I did not adjust for the time difference. And it was so embarrassing, and I almost thought that I blew my shot, and it was like one of the worst days ever. So please don't do this. I mixed up because she was in DC and I was in Denver, so the time difference was, I didn't adjust for it correctly. Anyway, it's a really small thing, but just make sure that you know exactly what time they say they're going to have their interview and what time that will look like for you wherever you are in the world.
All the interviews are done over Skype for Business.
Mm-hmm.
So you can kind of choose where and when you're going to do that. I think it's always East Coast time also.
Yeah.
So easy for me. But I did mine like in my bedroom, in my apartment, because I didn't want to go to a cafe or something and have it be loud. But I tried to have just a solid background and wear like a nice shirt.
Right. Number 7. So again, this is also with the interview. The nice thing about a Skype interview is that you can have materials in front of you, and the interviewer will never know about that. And another thing about the Peace Corps interview is that they send you the interview questions beforehand. So you will be able to like literally write out a script of what you want to say for each application or for each interview question if you want to. And then you can write like an outline or just have some type of material in front of you so that you can reference those during the interview, because even if, you know, they see your eyes kind of turning towards a screen or, you know, looking down at your papers, that's okay, because then they know that you're prepared.
Yeah, they kind of expect you to prepare. They definitely expect you to prepare, because that's why they send you the questions ahead of time. Because they're not testing like how can you think on your feet. They just want to get to know you, and that's what the questions are aimed at. So yeah, I had my notes in front of me, and I would say like, well, when I was like thinking about this question, I thought about blah blah blah.
Right. Which is fine.
Yeah. So like they expect you to have notes, so they're not going to think it's weird.
Yeah. So number 8. Yeah, number 8 is about. So the end of the interview, you will have a chance to ask questions to the interviewer, anything that you have thought of or are curious about. And my recommendation is to have questions prepared. Don't just say, no, none at this moment, because
they want to know that you've thought about this. And like, of course, you should have questions. It's Peace Corps. It's like, you have no idea what it is. I still have no idea what it is.
I know, and I have a lot of questions still.
Yeah, so definitely have questions.
Yeah, have questions. And think about them beforehand. Have questions about, whatever you're really like dying to know. This is a really good opportunity for you to learn about those things, and the interviewer might not be from the specific country that you're applying for, so they might not have a ton of like really specific information to give you, but they know a lot about Peace Corps in general, so they can give you some helpful tips. And another thing is the interview. I think Danielle, you were the one who said this, was the interview's like really set, so Peace Corps interviewers have like a specific guideline they have to follow, but this is the opportunity that you'll have to actually connect with the interviewer more on a personal and informal basis. So it kind of can be helpful for you to connect with them and ask them about their service if you want to. They can give you some anecdotes or information. And if you go to the blog, then there's a blog post that has like examples of questions that we compiled together when we asked the questions that we asked during our interview. So check that out.
And I would just add, don't be freaked out if you go through your interview and they're very like stony faced and just kind of like, okay, they're going to be typing your answers the whole time, so they're really just like listening to get everything down. They're not really interact. That's not to say that they're going to be like mean or anything, but it can feel a little bit robotic and a little bit removed. But in my experience, at least, once it got to the question parts, it was a lot more like congenial, a lot more friendly, and I got to like make her laugh.
Yeah.
Good impression.
Yeah.
So use the question section. It's kind of like the interview's kind of done at that point, so you can like chill a little bit. Yeah. It's just a little bit more informal.
Number 9 is do your homework about your country. So do some research. Figure out what is interesting about that country, what the benefits would be. It doesn't, there's no wrong answer here, but you have to have something to tell them. And
even if the answer is like, I hadn't thought about it at all, but you guys put me there, Like, you should still have a reason why now you've looked through the information and you still want to go there. Like, what is drawing you to that country?
Right. And last but not least, number 10.
We're so lame.
I know, we're not cool. Just be patient and trust the process. So the process is long, I'm not gonna lie. You could be applying, and then a year from then, you could be leaving. I think that's the longest it would be.
Yeah.
With the new application, a year. But I mean, a year's
about what it was.
Yeah. So it also could be like about 9 months, but if you do get an interview and then you do get an invitation, if you accept the invitation, there begins a very long process of the legal and medical clearance for you to be able to go to Peace Corps. And actually, comment down below if you are interested in another video about, like a separate video about the legal and medical clearance, because I know a lot of people have questions about that. I don't know if you would be interested in that, but if you are, let me know. But anyway, so the process is really long. It's grueling. It's exhausting. Sometimes you wonder why you need to do all of these tasks over and over again. But it's there for a reason. This process is there to make sure that you're as happy and healthy as possible and that you will be successful in site, because the Peace Corps has control over a lot of things, but when you get to site, they kind of don't have control over exactly what happens to you. I mean, that's the whole point, is that you're going to go to a new community and adjust yourself to a new community, so they want to make sure that nothing serious would happen to you and they want to keep you safe. So the process is there for a reason, but just trust it, believe in it, be patient. Things will work out the way that they are supposed to, and if you didn't get an interview this time around, or if you didn't get an invitation this time around or anything, please try again. I mean, that's why the applications are rolling. And me, for example, I applied literally 3 times to the Peace Corps. The first time was right after college, and I applied to, I think, Guatemala or something. It was one of the most competitive countries, and I just wasn't qualified. I mean, I understand why they didn't accept me. The second time I applied in general, and I was invited to serve, but for a sector that I wasn't super comfortable in. And I also had another job offer at the same time, so I decided to decline the invitation. And then the third time's the charm, and here I am. So please don't be discouraged if things don't go your way this time, because there's always a next time.
For sure. Yeah. Another thing, I feel like your life can change a lot in the time between you apply and you actually leave for service. And I know, for me at least, like, I had started a new job, I had met new people, and I was like really happy in the few months right before leaving. And I was kind of like, why am I like giving all this up for like something so unknown? And I think the circumstances might not be the same, but that kind of feeling of like you're jumping off into the unknown is the same for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's totally normal to be really scared and really nervous before going.
Yeah.
To be questioning it.
Yeah.
Like, don't
Super
let that turn you away. Just try it, go, see what happens.
Yeah.
And then you can make your judgment later.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Take a chill pill.
Take a chill pill. Take
Let
it
it
easy.
happen.
You're gonna have to do that for 27 months once you get here anyway. So.
Get practicing.
Yeah, get practicing. Okay, so yeah, let me know in the comments below. Please like this video if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel. I'll try and post at least once a month on the vlog, and then you can go to the blog too if you want to read some more about my experiences and things like that. I'll also link to her blog. It's very good. Yeah, I think that's about it. Thanks for listening. See ya. Okay, bye.